Super Bowl XLVII was played on February 3, 2013 in New Orleans, Louisiana at the Mercedes-Benz SuperDome. Representing the AFC was the Baltimore Ravens, and representing the NFC was the San Francisco 49ers. The game was known as the Harbaugh Bowl because both teams were coached by a Harbaugh brother, John for the Baltimore Ravens and Jim for the San Francisco 49ers. The Ravens ultimately won the game, but the most infamous part was the 22-minute power outage near the start of the third quarter. Today we're going to look at why it happened. New Orleans faced a long road to recovery after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, so for the Mercedes-Benz SuperDome to host their first Super Bowl post-Katrina was a very big deal to the city. Unfortunately, the game was pretty lopsided in the first half, with the Ravens taking a 21-6 halftime lead. At halftime, Beyonce performed, and this is where the story gets interesting. Actually, the events after the halftime show is where it got interesting. Don't get me wrong, we all love Beyonce, but today we're talking about the power going out. And that's precisely what happened with 13 minutes and 22 seconds left in the third quarter. Former Ravens player Bernard Pollard spoke to us previously on our show and shared his thoughts about the power outage.
Super Bowl definitely caught my attention when the power went out. What was it like being there and playing and having this odd stop?
Well, so honestly, the crazy part about all of that was when the power went out, whoever did it didn't do it right the first time. So they cut the lower bowl off, and the upper bowl was still on. So we all were kind of sitting there like, what just happened? And then you can tell somebody went back in to do it again. They cut the lower bowl on and cut the upper bowl off. And so everybody was just like, okay, everybody was like, man, people start booing. We and the players, we all looking like, we was like, man, what's going on? Because we were beating the piss out of them. And we all knew kind of what's going on. And then next, everything went dark. And we was like, heck no, man, they all cheating. So we ended up, it was nothing obviously we could do about it. They ran the show and everything else, but it's the Super Bowl. You got to know that everything needs to be intact, ready to roll. Because if you think about it, nothing happened during the Super Bowl halftime show. Beyonce was there. She did her little routine, and everybody was kicking. No power went out then, but the power went out when we was tearing that tail up, and they wanted to put that fire out.
The 22-minute power outage was a huge embarrassment for both the Superdome and the NFL. Almost immediately, the memes started flying across the internet, and immediately the blame was put on both the Superdome's management company, SMG, and the local electric utility, Entergy. An independent investigator was brought in, and it was determined that a defective electrical relay caused the power in the stadium to be cut off, turning off the lights. Let's look at a very basic example using your house to show how this process works. Your house has three main components to your light. It's quite a bit more complex, but we'll keep it simple for this example. You have the light itself, the light switch, and your circuit breaker. It's assumed that as long as you've paid your bill and your power is on, that light will turn on when you flip the switch. However, if there's a problem with the light or a wiring in the wall, sometimes that circuit breaker will trip, essentially turn off, to protect your house from damage or even a fire. This is essentially what happened at the Superdome, but on a much bigger scale and for a very weird reason. The Superdome is a massive facility and clearly has more lights than your house, so a bigger, more industrial-sized equipment setup is required to keep the lights on and protect the system from damage. The investigation centered around a device called an electric relay manufactured by the S&C Electric Company of Chicago. The difference between your home circuit breaker is it has a fixed rating that cannot be changed, mainly due to electrical code. The electric relay is adjustable and can be used in various size systems and applications. The fallout was pretty ugly, with the Superdome blaming S&C Electric for a defective relay. However, S&C blamed the Superdome, citing they used improper settings on the relay, and that caused it to shut off the power before it really needed to. An independent investigation was needed. John Palmer of Palmer Engineering and Forensics based out of Utah performed an investigation and published his findings as follows. These are pretty technical, so I'll try to break it down for you as easily as I can since most of us are not electrical engineers. The cause of the power outage was a misoperation of the relay. That basically translates to the relay shut off before it was supposed to. A contributing factor to the misoperation of the relay was the unstable operating condition of the relay around the set point of the subject relay due to a design defect. Essentially what that means, the relay did not operate how it was explained in the manual from the manufacturer. The third point was a contributing factor of the outage was the inappropriate current trip level settings of the relay, which was set to the factory default, going back to it was at the wrong setting. A contributing factor to the inappropriate setting was inadequate communication between the manufacturer, which is S&C Electric, and the utility. Essentially what happens is the manual was vague, the utility did not understand what they were installing, the wrong setting was put into place, and the relay didn't operate as it was intended to. Some players from the Ravens, including Terrell Suggs and Ray Lewis, have pulled the conspiracy theory card saying that, hey, the NFL needed to get the 49ers back into the game so we didn't have a blowout Super Bowl. Well, the 49ers did get back into the game, and we know the Ravens still won, but unfortunately, what it all comes down to is an issue with the electrical system. I wish the story was a little bit more exciting than that, but, it is what it is. For StadiumScene.tv, I'm DJ Flook. And be sure to check us out at StadiumScene.tv, at StadiumScene on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and TikTok, and at Stadium_Scene on Instagram. And be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.